Okay, welcome to Rewrite God of War Ragnarok Part 4. This is the fourth part of a series where I go and rewrite the story and the gameplay into the ultimate what if scenario. If you haven't watched my previous parts, I strongly recommend you do that so the story can make sense and you can know what's going on, and also so you can witness the changes that I've already made. I promise they're pretty good. This could potentially be a long video, I'm not too sure at this very moment, but I promise there's going to be a special surprise in this specific part. And I got a lot more ideas coming on in the future, so if you want the series to continue, let me know. So before we get on to the story, we have a couple of combo and gameplay changes that I want to run by. First, we're going to be adding some delayed R1 and R2 attacks to the Blaze of Chaos, suggested by a comment section on the last video. So the delayed R1 attack for the Blaze of Chaos will be basically Whirling Chaos from 2018, which can be upgraded to go even longer if you press R1 2 more times. And then second, we have a delayed R2 attack for the Blaze of Chaos. I like to call this Napalm Rise. Kratos will sprint towards any desired direction or to a locked on target, dragging his blades across the ground. He will then jump while pulling his blades upward, explosively launching an enemy into the air. This can be upgraded to be able to press R2 2 more times, launching them even higher. The final change I'm going to be adding is going to be with the barehanded combos. If you do a light chain combo and finish it with a heavy, instead of him doing a Spartan kick, he's going to finish with an uppercut, which launches the enemy into the air, allowing you to combo them. Alright guys, that will conclude the rewrite. Thank you for all watching. Nah, I'm just playing. We gotta get into the story. Previously, Atreus got kidnapped by Freya, and we don't know where she went, so now Kratos is going to be following her. Kratos falls into the dark frozen woodlands. He yells for Freya's name as she flies away with Atreus, being nowhere to be seen. Kratos lays on the ground and begins to get up. Mimir says to Kratos, "We best not let her get too far. Where does she possibly plan on going with the lad?" Kratos has a mildly angry look on his face and says, "We followed the direction she flew." Kratos runs through the woodlands and encounters a number of raiders and hillwalkers. Kratos will combat with them. In this area, the trees will have yellow symbols on them, which Kratos will be able to climb on with his blades and swing on. Raiders will have grappling hooks and will be able to latch onto the trees as well. You can either hit them off with the axe or you can execute them by jumping from one tree to another. Kratos will be more brutal in this combat section. If you launch an enemy into a tree, the force will cause the tree to fall down, and if enemies are in the way, they will be splattered, leaving blood on the snow. Once you finish this combat encounter, Mimir will say, "We better hurry," as Kratos runs towards the direction of the Lake of the Nine. As they travel through the woods, Mimir will reflect on the situation. Out of all the times she attacked, I never imagined she would go this far. A son for a son. Do you think she mean Kratos cuts Mimir off? She will not hurt Atreus. Mimir will then respond, saying, "I hope so, brother." Kratos and Mimir reach the frozen Lake of the Nine. Mimir asks if he sees Freya. Kratos responds and says he doesn't see her at all. Mimir then replies and says, "This isn't good. We can't just search the entire realm looking for her. Maybe somebody's seeing exactly where she went." Kratos automatically assumes he's talking about Jormungandr. Mimir says it may be our only option. They make their way to the bridge where they have to fight off a couple of hillwalkers, but they are able to make it to the horn of the world serpent. They see that it's covered in snow, but Kratos makes quick work of that with his blades, melting all the snow around it. Mimir is able to reach the horn and blows it, signaling Jormungandr as he appears. Mimir begins to speak the ancient tongue, asking Jorm if he's seen where Freya flew off to. Jorm responds. Mimir tells Kratos he says he didn't see where she went. Kratos grunts angrily and begins to turn around, walking away with haste. Jorm continues to talk. Kratos slowly turns around as Jorm's voice shakes the area. Mimir translates, but there may be something that can help find her. Kratos grabs Mimir's head, asking him what it is. Mimir continues. He claims to know a place where Freya could be hiding, says that he's seen her go there multiple times and fumble with her, and he says that he'll take us there. Kratos slightly nods to Mimir, then Mimir speaks to Jorm, agreeing to go with him. Jorm will then rise his head high into the air and slam it into the frozen lake, destroying the surface of ice. The impact shakes the area around them violently. Jorm's head will rise from the destroyed ice, which allows Kratos to jump on top of it. Jorm's body will rise and they will leave the Lake of the Nine, with Kratos and Mimir on top of his head. They travel through a thick cloud of mist for for some time until eventually they reach a place in Midgard they've never seen before. Most of the area is covered in complete snow and no trees are to be seen in any direction, all except for a large patch surrounding a mystic gateway, which is full of vegetation. Yorm sets them down and begins to leave. Kratos and Mimir look around the vegetated area and find some interesting things. But the most important thing that they discover from this area are foreign artifacts unfamiliar to Kratos. Mimir looks at the artifacts and is shocked. He says, "This can't be." Kratos asks him what it is. Mimir says, "Brother, these artifacts are from Vanaheim, which means Freya learned how to go to another realm." Kratos asks, "How is that possible?" And Mimir says he's not too sure. The only way he sees this working is with outside help. Certainly not Brock and Sindri, and definitely not Odin. Kratos turns his head over to the Mystic Gateway. He asks Mimir, "Do you think that's where she went?" Mimir replies and says, "It's only one way to find out." Right after they say that, they hear a familiar voice go like, Nope. One gateway to Vanaheim coming right up." They turn to see Brock walking up to them. They ask if Brock is coming with them, and Brock warns them that Vanaheim is unfamiliar territory with unfamiliar folk. You will be entering her home. Mimir says that he's got a point. If Freya can truly travel to her homeland, she has the advantage, influence among the people, and most notably, Freya. Brock will say that it would be wise to enter Vanaheim and not make yourself too famous. Kratos will grow impatient of this talk and he will say, "The people of Vanaheim are not my concern. I'm going to find my son. If they want to stand in my way, so be it." He then will ask Brock if he can open the gate, which he will proceed to do so, and they will enter Vanaheim for the first time. In the rewrite, I will be altering the terrain of Vanaheim. The green nature aesthetic and all the vines and stuff will still be there, it'll still be present, but this time, the realm will be divided into multiple giant sky islands. Kratos, Mimir, and Brock will appear at the edge of one of them. They will take a moment and look around the skies and the islands that occupy them. The multiple islands will surround one big island that has a sword hilt which is tall enough to be seen from anywhere. In certain areas there will be wind currents coming from the seemingly bottomless pit which is below the sky islands, reminding you of the wind currents from God of War 3. As the gang witness the vastness of this realm, they will notice 3 sets of wings surrounding the center island flying around it. The first one is an unfamiliar set of metallic wings with a dark silver color. The second one is a golden metallic wing color, which Mimir will point out could be Sigrun. Mimir will be surprised thinking that Sigrun could be revived. But as they are looking at the wings, the ones that they think is Sigrun, it begins to fly away, not being seen at all. And the third one is not metallic at all. It is a natural bright orange color. Freya is on that island. Kratos will think to himself, what could she be planning to do? Brock will then say, "Unless you got wings like them Valkyries, I don't see no way of you getting there." Kratos will then point to the surrounding islands, saying that they will have to travel to them one by one to get to the middle. Kratos, Mimir, and Brock will travel through the first island, and the level will be pretty much the same as when you reach Vanaheim for the first time, all the way until we get to the point where Brock is supposed to get kidnapped by the trap. But in the rewrite, instead of Brock being kidnapped by the trap, he will decide to leave Kratos and Mimir on his own to go look for the Freyer's camp. Brock believes that if Freya finds him before he finds Kratos, it will give Kratos more time to look for Freya and Atreus without being interrupted. Brock will walk into the woods and then turn around and tell them to get going already. "I got a new recipe cooking for dinner and I don't want your boy missing it." Mimir will then say, "The bastard's gonna get himself killed." Is that foreshadowing? I don't know. Rewrite, anything can happen. Kratos and Mimir will reach the edge of the island and see the next island they have to get to, but it is too far for Kratos to just jump onto. The next island is also to the left of where they are and is below the height of their current island. Directly in front of them will be one of the air tunnels flowing upward. This involves a simple puzzle where Kratos connects one chain from the Blade of Chaos onto the other blade, increasing its length. He throws the extended blade to launch onto the next island. You will use the left stick to slowly pull it until it's on top of the air current. This will make the island closer and now above the height of their current island. Kratos will use his blades to grapple onto the next island. The second island will be fundamentally similar to the portion of Vanaheim you explore after you meet Freyr. The only difference here is that in some enemy encounters, there will be small holes on the ground which will release air currents. If you throw an enemy onto them, they will go in the air, being immobilized by the wind for a moment. If you step in one, it will be the same, except you can still do range attacks, like throwing the axe. When climbing up certain walls, you'll have to face combat as well. Some Einjar will be able to climb on areas you need to get past. Use any weapon to perform a light or heavy attack. Their stun meter fills up quickly, so they will be easy to execute. If you are jumping from one wall onto another, you can do an automatic execution if an enemy is in your way. This island will end after you kill the mini-boss of Fiske. Everything seems to be going smoothly. Kratos and Mimir reach the edge of the second island, getting ready to go on to the third one. As Kratos begins to pull the third island closer to their position, Mimir will shout, "Behind you!" But right as Kratos turns around, only to get blitzed by a dark Valkyrie with silver wings. She sends Kratos to fall, but he hangs onto the chains of his blades that were connected to the third island. You have to climb up to get onto the land. But this Valkyrie is fast. She grabs Kratos by his head and flies above the island. She looks at Kratos and says, "Slayer of gods, unworthy to challenge the queen." Kratos will then punch the Valkyrie, which releases her grip, but then she replies with a punch of her own, sending Kratos flying all the way to the island. He hits multiple trees as he falls down to the ground. When Kratos gets up, you will enter a mini-game similar to the one in 2018 when you fought Magni and Modi. The Valkyrie will taunt you, as Mimir and Kratos will try to talk their way out of the fight. She will not listen to reasoning as you hear her fly around the forest. She will attack from different directions, which you will have to block, but her last attack will be a low sweep flying with her wings. You'll have to press circle in this QTE, which will make Kratos hop over and grab her with the blades, slamming her to the ground. The battle shall begin after this point. Her name will be Gol. Why Gol? I just looked up a Valkyrie name. Gol will have a similar moveset to Haris in this fight, with a unique move. She will fly low and try to knock you off balance, which you could either hop, roll out of the way, or latch onto a tree. There will be a couple of trees to latch onto. From the trees, you can hop off and do a ground pound. If you stay on a tree for too long, she will attack you, throwing you onto the ground. Gol's spear will have the element of fire when she attacks. If you are able to apply frost, she will take more damage. Gol also has a ground pound of her own, similar to Gana's, which you can either shield strike to interrupt or latch onto a tree. Once you get her to halfway health, the fire around her will extinguish. Gol will rise and create a powerful wind current, blowing Kratos and the entire island back. Kratos tries to use his blades to hold onto a tree, but the tree breaks off, flying away from the wind. Kratos uses his axe to just barely catch the edge of the island. Mimir warns him that the island is about to smash into the other one. Kratos will then turn around using his legs to push away from the two islands, stopping them from combining, which you will have to mash circle. Kratos successfully pushes the island away and gets back up. Gol is still there, but all of the trees are gone, and you can see all of the islands from here. She continues to taunt. Kratos and Mimir try to reason again. She doesn't listen, loyal to the Valkyrie Queen. And this is when Phase 2 will begin. Her element of choice has switched from fire to wind. She can slash the air with her wings, creating a projectile of wind, which you can either block or dodge. She can use her wings for an unblockable attack, which she launches you into the air, leaving you vulnerable for an air attack. Her ground pound also launches you into the air, which you will have to shield strike to interrupt because all the trees are gone. When you get her health down for an execution, Kratos will then use his blades for a long range style, whipping her every time she tries to retaliate, until one final violent slash sends her to the ground to bleed out. Gol has died in the honor of her queen. Kratos looks down at the newest victim added to the list. Mimir then says, "Well, I guess it was either her or us." Kratos remains silent for a moment. "She stood in the way of my son. She left me no choice." Kratos begins to walk past her body. He looks over to the center island, their target destination, but the terrain has been altered. The islands aligned originally with the center one has been moved out of reach completely. It seems to be no way to make it to the island. Mimir speaks. "Well, that has to be the greatest form of inconvenience. What are we gonna do now?" Kratos slowly turns to look at the corpse of Gol. He grunts and then tells Mimir, "We will use her." Mimir automatically sees what he's about to do and says, Aw, nah. It's one thing to rip off a Valkyrie's wings, but to use them as your own? That is just too far. Kratos replies and says, I do not see another way. What Freya is planning to do is an uncertainty. We will not let any distance stop us. Kratos begins to rip the silver metallic wings off of the back of Gaul. The camera drifts its focus to the island for a moment, then back to Kratos as he stands up. Kratos has acquired the wings of a Valkyrie. Around the island, multiple Anyar will appear from the Bifrost teleportation. You will have to fight them. And this is where I'll be introducing air combos, man. This is the only reason why I made this fucking rerun. This is how air combos will work in God of War Ragnarok. While pressing circle allows you to hop, holding circle will charge up a wing launch similar to Icarus Ascension in God of War 2, creating a strong wind around you and whoever's near you. If you were to tap circle twice, it will act as a double jump, and the second tap will launch you into the air using the wings. If the enemy isn't a heavy one and has a yellow health bar below, they will be launched in the air with you. If you successfully juggle an enemy, you could tap circle at any time to automatically launch you and the enemy in the air. But if the enemy is heavy or tougher, you'll have to juggle them to launch. While in the air with an enemy, you can typically get 4 hits in before falling to the ground. Certain attacks have different natures in the air. Any attack that is a slam throws the enemy and yourself back into the ground. You can dodge while in the air too. If you was to hold the stick in any direction and press X, instead of rolling how you would do on the ground, you would do a dash with the wings similar to the movement of the Valkyries. And whatever combo you do in the air, any heavy finisher will just be a ground pound. Once you are done testing out the new wings, Mimir will say, fought like a true Valkyrie. You should have stolen a pair of wings sooner. This will definitely get us to the island. Best not to wait any longer. On the edge of the island, you will use multiple wind tunnels to propel you upward as you glide through the sky. You do this until you reach your final destination. When Kratos lands on the final island, you will have one more enemy encounter. After that, he will begin to run in a dark wooden forest, but the camera doesn't follow him anymore. It rises to the dark parts of the screen and then transition to Atreus being wrapped around in the vines. Atreus is trapped as he sees Freya near a campfire sharpening her blade. The conversation that they'll have is pretty much identical to the original series when he found her in Midgard. Atreus will try to get to her good side and try to plead with her good nature with the intention of having her join the team eventually. The only difference really is going to be Atreus is going to be confused on how they're in Vanaheim in the first place since she was cursed. She will respond by saying, you don't know what it took to get me here. Atreus proceeds to explain all of the events of what they found in Jotunheim, of Odin coming to Midgard, Groa's prophecy, of how they found Tyr. Freya is going to be surprised by all of this information. She almost seems to be considering joining the fight. Atreus may have gave her something she hasn't had in a long time. But then suddenly, she hears somebody scream her name. Freya! Hearing Kratos' voice took whatever she had away in just an instant. Her face changes to an unyielding rage. Kratos can be seen some yards away running towards her. She turns into a bird and flies to his direction while Atreus is yelling at them, telling her to wait a second. His cries are on deaf ears. Freya reverts back into her human form and clashes with Kratos' shield once again with her sword. Kratos says while holding back his anger, "We do not have to do this. Release my son." Freya will look into the eyes of Kratos for a moment, and then she will let out a fierce battle cry. Vines rise from below to grapple onto Kratos' leg and takes him for a ride, slamming him back and forth onto multiple trees. Atreus continues to yell, urging them not to fight. Kratos will use his axe and throw it onto the vine that's holding him, setting him free and falling to the ground. He gets up and sees Freya ready to battle. Mimir also tries to talk some sense into Freya, but she doesn't even hear it. She puts on her helmet and they begin to fight. This is how the Freya boss fight will go. Her basic offensive attacks and movements will be similar to the Vanity's fight, but this time she will have more Vanir magic to her arsenal, such as using her vines to immobilize you, similar to the second boulder fight, and she can use them to throw boulders at you, which you will have to dodge out of the way. If you hit her with the same attack over and over again, there's a chance you could get parried, which could either lead to you getting immobilized, which will allow her to get a hit in, or just her dashing out of the way with her wings to maybe do a range attack. If you try to use your wings to fly in the air, she will use her vines to quickly pull you down, doing damage. She will even react to Kratos pulling his wings out, saying, "How dare you take her wings? I will rip them from you." She will also have other dialogue sections too, like Kratos saying, "I did what I did to save you," and her replying saying, "You had no right." Or her just saying, "You will pay for his life with yours, the blood of my son, the blood of my sisters." And it's even dialogue with Mimir saying, "Freya, this isn't who you are." And she would just reply saying, damn you all." Once you get her health bar down to 1 bar, a cutscene will emerge. They will both stop for a moment, huffing and puffing, tired from the battle. Kratos will continue to talk to Freya, saying that he apologized for everything and telling her this is not the way to get peace. Freya will then respond angrier, saying that you have no right to tell me that. The camera will focus on Atreus as Freya makes the vines surrounding him throw him hundreds of feet into the air. As Atreus is looking around the air fearful, the camera will turn to show Kratos flying up to him with his wings, only for Freya to intercept him. The camera changes his focus back to the fight. Freya punches Kratos in the face repeatedly, screaming, telling him to die. Kratos begins to punch back, which releases her grip, sending Kratos flying. But he is able to stop his fall with his new wings. He looks over to see Freya flying over to Atreus, grabbing him and flying away. Kratos will then chase after them. This will include a flying minigame section similar to the Pegasus sections of God of War 2. You will have to chase them down while dodging arrows, Vanaheim magic projectiles, and rocks. You will be flying around the Sky Island domain. You can use your axe to throw it at her to slow her down, or even use your blades to attack if you're close enough. Once you stun her enough, a cutscene will appear. Kratos will frost his axe and slam it onto Freya's back, hurting her very badly, which leads Atreus to fall. Kratos will call out to his son and dive with his wings to catch him. He is successful. Freya is nowhere to be seen. Kratos begins to fly over to the first island they came from. The camera focuses close up to them as Kratos asks Atreus was he hurt in any type of way. Atreus will say that he wasn't. Mimir will suggest that they should get home before she comes back. As soon as they reach the first island, very close to the trees, Freya will come out of nowhere, helmet off, and stab Kratos in the back. Vines rise from the island and grab Atreus and toss him to the island. Freya and Kratos are falling down together. They begin to free fall. In the heat of the moment, Kratos will get the upper hand of her. As they get closer and closer to the ground, Kratos pulls out his blades as Freya struggles. Mimir tries to yell after Kratos, saying, "Brother, don't do it." But Kratos is only using his primal instinct. He uses both of the blades and stabs it into Freya's chest as they slam violently into a tree. Blood splatters everywhere. Kratos, both hands onto Freya's chest, realizes what he has done. Kratos goes into a state of shock. Freya spits out blood as she slowly bleeds out from her chest, pinned to a tree. Kratos says to her, "No, I did not wish to harm you." Freya will slowly reply, "You think that you can hurt me, Kratos? The little I had left in this world was already taken from you. There is nothing left to even feel. Not anymore." Freya grabs the blades and pulls them out of her chest. Her blood splatters onto Kratos. She falls down and continues to cough out blood and bleed out. Kratos looks at his hands, completely covered in red. His voice shakes as he talks. This is not how it was supposed to end." Freya then responds, telling him that you can't defy destiny. "I've tried it already." Kratos would then turn to Freya, begging her to try to heal herself or try to revive herself in any way. She would then tell Kratos to let her be. Do not rob her of this choice again. Kratos steps away from Freya and continues to drown in his guilt until he hears Bigir scream and swings his sword at him. Kratos is able to dodge out of the way. Before they start fighting, they hear Brock yell at him, telling him to stop. Bigir disengages to look at Brock as he walks towards him. Brock goes like, "Are you fucking blind? White skin, red tattoos. How hard is that to notice?" Brock sees the pool of blood surrounding Freya. He goes like, "Holy shit." Atreus arrives to the scene and is in complete denial of what he is looking at. Kratos doesn't look at Atreus and he continues to look at Freya. She hasn't passed out yet. The rest of Freya's group arrive, including Freya. They ask what's going on. Freya sees his sister for the first time in forever, thinking she was dead the whole time, but now it looks like she's actually gonna. He runs to her and tries to comfort her and sees her wounds. Freya looks over to Kratos and he asks, You hurt my sister? Kratos doesn't respond. Freya talks again, telling his group to go after them and kill all of them now. Mimir is yelling at them saying it's time to go as Freya's group approaches and begins to chase them, shooting everything they can at them. Kratos and Atreus make a run for it and reach the Mystic Gateway. They are able to escape Vanaheim and they land in the realm between realms. And that will conclude part 4 of the God of War Ragnarok rewrite. Feel free to let me know what y'all think about it and stay tuned for the next part.